There's a lot of straight guys that imagine themselves sucking dick. It doesn't mean you're gay. It doesn't mean you're gay.
Welcome back to Lustcast. Today we're going to blow your minds. We're asking why so many straight men enjoy gay sex. I'm going to be asking all the stupid questions so you don't have to, including why do they do it? And well, aren't all these guys just gay or bisexual? Before we get into that, do me a favour and hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel, and if you really like my content, please consider taking out a premium subscription. For just $4.99 a month, you'll get exclusive bonus content and uncensored versions of the show. Joining me to unpack all the mysteries around straight men having gay sex is a certified relationship therapist and host of the Smart Sex, Smart Love podcast, and writer of 4 books on male sexuality. That's Dr.Joe Kort. How's it going, Joe?
It's great. Hey, thanks for having me on such an important topic.
Yeah, it really is important because I hadn't even thought about it until you mentioned it. I saw it on your Instagram. But now I go through a lot of casual conversations I've had with my friends, and I realized that, actually quite a lot of my straight friends have had gay sex in different kind of circumstances. Mm-hmm. And I guess the biggest question people are going to have is, are they really straight? And does it matter, I guess?
So they are really straight. And it matters because they have wives, they have female partners, they have heterosexual lives. And they're not gay, and they're not bi, and they're not pan, and they're not all the things that people get on my social media and say that these are what's really going on. They're not closeted. And so to go down those roads, we explore those roads, but it would be like trying to help a gay guy that he's really straight. The guy is really gay having sex with women. The guy is really straight having sex with men. And we'll talk about on the show, like, why would he do it then? If he's not gay, what would be the reason? Well, there's so many reasons and so many nuances people don't understand.
And do you think maybe all men wonder what it's like and it's just a curiosity, or is it?
No, I don't think all men. I think there are definitely men that never think of it. It repulses them. It's disgusting, or it's just neutral, like nothing, right? But I do think there are many men that have, homoerotic interest, bi curiosity, those kinds of things. And, I don't know who this comic is. I always forget his name, but he jokes about how he's asked people, when you're watching, adult porn, do you care if the guy has a small dick when he's, fucking these women? And, the guys are like, no, I want the dick big and hard and girth. And, and they're like, well, then you care about the dick. The dick it matters to you. Like, does that make you gay? And he says it better than that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've always wondered about things like that because I notice on my podcast, whenever there's something about penises, it's so popular with straight men. And also there's a lot of male activities where they are homoerotic, and it is men who are worshipping the male form, like bodybuilding is the big one. And Andrew Tate is the other one. All those shirtless videos he's doing, all those kind of like all that erotic content, it's for straight men. But I've never been able to work out if that's a sexual thing or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know that it is. It might be. I don't even know if it's homoerotic. I mean, there's things men do that it's not necessarily erotic to them, but there are men that cross the line for all kinds of legitimate reasons that people just don't understand.
Yeah, so what are the main reasons that men do experiment with gay sex, like straight men, obviously?
So remember, I'm a therapist, so I'm seeing a clinical population come through here. I mean, I've also read the other research out there, and so the reason I say this is I wrote a book called "Is My Husband Gay, Straight, or Bi?" A guide for couples for women concerned about their men, and I spent 2 chapters, which is because it's so prevalent in my practice, of straight men who've been traumatized as a child, sexually abused by a male perpetrator. So when they get older, they trauma reenact, which means they return to the scene of the sexual crime and they end up having gay sex, but they don't have sexual urges. They're trauma urges that have become eroticized. So they're replaying a trauma. It's not about their orientation. It's about abuse.
And is that the main reason that?
No, that's just one big reason. And I see it so much in my practice, but I think it's because I'm a therapist. Another main reason is a lot of straight men enjoy prostate play, and you can't get to your prostate without going through your anus. You can do it
Yeah.
outside of it, between your testicles and your scrotum and your butt and your and I have to be careful how I talk, because I don't have to be careful here, but on TikTok I have to talk like a 12-year-old boy, and I have to say
Yeah,
butthole. I
yeah.
can't say asshole. You know what I mean? So
It helps me because nearly every video I have gets demonetized. But uh, don't worry about it.
oh,
Just
should I watch my language? I don't mind watching
no,
it.
no, no, no. Don't
All
worry. You
right.
can be as vulgar as you like. I like to
Okay.
just be honest and truthful. I think
I
that's
know,
the
me
best way.
too. Me too. Well, so a lot of guys, or they like butt play. Let's just say that. So
Yeah.
then, but they tell their wives or girlfriends, and the girlfriend thinks, no, you're gay. I don't trust you anymore. I don't see you as a man anymore. Or he's too ashamed to tell her, even if she's going to be okay with it. So he goes and
Mm,
finds men to penetrate him and give him that prostate pleasure, but he's not into the guy. Most gay guys that are bottoms and like getting fucked are thinking, God, this guy behind me is so hot. The straight guy's like, I'm not into the guy. I'm into getting
mm.
fucked. I'm liking the pleasure of what's happening here.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And if we're talking about the actual specifics of the act, weirdly, I assumed that the straight guy would be more the giver. And because I've heard this a lot in my former job as a porn producer, where a lot of the guys do gay for pay, and they'll kind of justify it to the other male performers as, yeah, but I was just giving. So it's different.
So that's
So
another
I
thing.
guess, yeah.
Yep.
So I was,
Gay
guess I
for
was
pay.
surprised.
Yeah, no, it's true. Gay for pay, they'll even bottom, because a lot of the guys will tell me, and I've interviewed so many porn stars,
Mm.
or just sex workers. They say,
Hmm.
I'm a cash sexual. Money turns me on. So if you pay me,
Mm.
I'd rather a woman pay me, and then I could have the kind of sex I want. But the pleasure is in the financials, not in the act I'm about to do, even though I can still get hard and enjoy myself.
Mm. So that is a real thing, to be turned on by being given money.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's actually a newer genre of kink. It's called financial domination, FinDom.
Yeah.
Have you heard
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
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 And it's usually a woman doing it to a man, but now straight men have gotten into it, where they're dominating and humiliating and financially controlling gay men. And it's a consensual thing between the guys. They love it.
Mm. Yeah, it's fascinating and it's so diverse. And I guess another thing is, I guess just to ground the conversation in like how common is it? Because like what percentage of straight men would you say are having gay sex? I've read a few studies and it seems that there isn't, it's quite a big range in the studies I saw.
I don't know, to be honest with you, because straight men don't admit it. And they don't admit it because here's the line I always say. When a straight man has one non-heterosexual thought, he's stigmatized. When a straight woman has one non-heterosexual thought, she's fetishized. Both are
Mm.
problematic, but women are much more likely to report same-sex behavior than men because of that.
I feel like with women, it's a badge of honor. It's like social proof you're edgy, you're cool.
Yes,
Celebrities will kiss publicly um, to boost their profile. I wouldn't even say it's stigmatized anymore. Maybe it is in some communities, but
right.
certainly in Europe, not so much. But yeah, any even a gay kiss on screen is quite controversial, I think. So a straight man,
For two
um,
men, yes.
yeah. But I think that's why people struggle with it, because, and even I struggle with the idea that these men are definitely straight, because I think of sports teams, for example. I watch a lot of soccer, and in the Premier League, there's obviously hundreds of players, thousands, but there's no gay men playing. And so it just makes me think, maybe they're bisexual or they're, just a little bit curious about men. And it is just the social stigma that stops them from living their real life.
Well, that's not out of the question, right? So those men exist, and that is true. There are men that are, well, and there's a researcher, Rich Savin Williams, who calls them mostly straight, where
Mm,
they're heteroflexible Kinsey ones. Like a Kinsey 0 is, I'm only going to be with women and only attracted to women. And a Kinsey 1 is, I can be heteroflexible kind of thing.
mm,
And I do know that exists, but what I'm talking about is, and this is the difference, and a lot of people argue with me online, um, because they don't know. A bisexual guy is going to be attracted to men in general, in different ways. He's going to be walking around and have an attraction to men. The straight man isn't walking around, and it's not men in general. It's this man in this time, in this space. I'm having this kind of headspace going on, and I want to have an interaction with a male. They're not into the guy, they're into the act.
Mm. Yeah, I had a similar conversation a few weeks ago too, and that was with a trans woman. And what surprised me was that it was mostly straight men, and again, it was the penis they were interested in, like a penis fascination, even.
I just did a video on this today. I've done several on TikTok, and it's going viral. And so this is what people don't understand. When a straight man is with a trans woman who hasn't had bottom surgery, he is interested in what's called gynandromorphophilia. Gynandromorphophilia means that I need it to be a woman from the waist up, breasts, nails, hair, makeup. But from the waist down, I get to play with a penis, and I get to experience being submissive. I get to experience what oral sex is like, giving it, what receiving anal sex is like. But people think, well, if you're playing with a NATO male's body part, then you're gay. And I always say, what you do in bed and the body part you enjoy does not determine your sexual orientation. Because that same man, if he was looking up at a guy doing all this with the penis, he'd be turned off. It would be like, Tilt, I'm not into this. It's got to be a woman.
Why do you think there is so much stigma around it? Because I guess, I mostly mix in liberal circles, but I can't imagine anyone, at least in the UK, having a huge problem if someone said they're gay. I think maybe they might feel emasculated somehow, maybe, but I just can't imagine someone being heavily discriminated against for sexuality anymore. Maybe that's me being naive. I don't know.
Well, what's happening though is, but these men are straight, right? So the stigma and the judgments are, you're really enjoying heterosexual privilege. You won't release it and come to our side. And it's like, there's no side. There's nothing to come to. This is who they are. And the LGBT community especially can't tolerate it. It blows their mind. And most of it is this political thinking that straight men shouldn't be able to enjoy gay sex because they haven't suffered like us queers, right? And
Okay.
I just think that makes sense, but that's not how our erotica works.
Yeah, and even in porn, I'm not an expert on gay porn, but I noticed that like one of the biggest fantasies seems to be kind of having sex with a straight man.
There's a lot of gay guys that are attracted to straight men. It's a big fantasy for them. And sometimes people say, well, it's always internalized homophobia. Maybe, but sometimes internalized homophobia can be eroticized. And so and then you gain access to the straight guy in a way that in real life you've been rejected by.
Yeah, that was the other question I was going to ask actually about this, what do you call it, internalized homophobia. Because there's this cliche of the men who are kind of the most anti-gay, kind of being the ones that are secretly having sex with men.
Yes, and it's true. Yes, and they're closeted. And that's why a lot of gay guys get upset with what I'm talking about in terms of calling these guys straight. Well, first of all, I'm not a gay whisperer. If I was a gay whisperer, I wouldn't even be here with you on your podcast. No offense. I would be so rich and I'd be able to help so many people. I'd be having dinner with Cher tonight, not you. You know what I mean? So I can't, I never tell anybody who they are. What I say is I can help you go inside. And so they'll say, well, you're keeping closeted men closeted because closeted gay men are so riddled with internalized homophobia, they think they're straight. I know the difference. I know how to tease out the difference. I actually have 4 questions that I ask these men, and they're pretty much very helpful to the men to identify, am I gay, straight, or bi?
What are the questions? If I don't mind.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So the first question is, do you have any youthful noticing? In other words, in your childhood, were you attracted to boys? Were you preoccupied with other guys? So for me, I'm a gay guy, and I remember in the 70s, you had to get naked and go into the shower before you went into a school swimming pool. And so I remember for the first time seeing all these penises, different sizes, different colors, different lengths. I was mesmerized, but I didn't know what it was. In gym class, I was tortured because I so wanted to look And I so wanted to, worried I was going to get an erection 6th, 7th, and 8th grade because the boys were so attractive to me. And then I was in love with this guy named Billy Ramnick, but I couldn't have access to him. Straight men who have sex with men have none of this. They may have had a circle jerk. They may have had mutual masturbation overnight with some guy, but that's what a lot of boys do that. Girls do it too. But it wasn't that they were attracted to the guy or attracted to the sex. They were interested in the interaction. The second question I ask is homophobia. And what we just talked about, it was really good. Gay and bisexual men are so riddled with internalized and externalized homophobia and biphobia, they don't even make it to my office. I'm too gay for them. The straight guys that come to me, they're holding my books. They've read everything that I've written, and they'll say, "If I'm gay, help me be gay." They don't have the same kind of homophobia. The third thing is, I call it the beach test. When you're on the beach, what are you looking at before you even realize you're looking at? What are you drawn to? And I always say, no offense to any woman, but they're in my way. I'm looking at the men on the beach. I'm not looking. So the straight guys are always looking at the women. And then the fourth question is, who do you want to come home to? Who do you want to wake up next to? Straight men who have sex with men always say women. Gay men always say men, and bisexuals always say one or the other or both.
Yeah, and that all makes sense to me. It really does. And another thing I was thinking is, for these straight guys that are keeping a secret, I've kept a pretty big secret before, and it tore me up for a year and a half, and it wasn't something about my sexuality. But once I was able to start talking about it with people, once, I was just open about it, like my life changed. I was so much happier. So I can't imagine what that must do to a guy if he is keeping this big secret, the running around in secret, the keeping secrets from your partner, from your friends, not being able to just talk to someone and say, "Oh, I did this the other day, I'm not sure about it." Even like basic questions around sexual health or whatever.
The men that I work with are not tortured by the secret. They compartmentalize it. It's like it never happened. Right? They don't get to know the guy. They don't get to know each other's names. They just do the act and it's over. And you know what they all say? And I've worked with men all over the world. Every one of them said to me, "I didn't think I was cheating on my girlfriend or my wife because it was a guy." So they're not at odds with it.
Really? But
Now some are, go ahead.
why do they come to you?
Well, they've been caught. Most of them have been caught. If you read my book, "Is My Husband Gay?"
Yeah.
I had a writer help me with that book because I had written my first 3 books. I was so exhausted. So I hired this guy to help me. And he said, it's so interesting. Every case example you are bringing up, the wife has caught him. The girlfriend's caught him.
Yeah, so these guys are just really comfortable with themselves and just, they're living their life and doing what they want.
Well,
And
they don't know why they're doing it, but they don't feel like it's gay. Some might question, I'm not saying none, question themselves, but they're not tortured by it the way gays and bis are.
yeah, I just assumed they would be because I think that's the nature of secrets, or at least in my experience, it was.
It does make sense. It's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I was just fascinated why they might not be. And so, yeah, let's get into the relationships of it, because I guess how does it affect their relationships when they get caught?
Well, I'll tell you, before we do that, I want to just make one distinction. And this is really important. And I can't talk a lot about this on TikTok because my videos get taken down, they get silenced. We have a difference between sexual orientation and erotic orientation. Your sexual orientation is to whom you're attracted. Men, women, both, a blend of both, no, neither. Your erotic orientation are the things that get you off, the things that bring you to orgasm. Okay. So that's why this is so people don't understand. Like, you might be a straight guy who has a cuckolding fantasy. A cuckolding fantasy is I get off on being the husband and my wife turns to me and says, "You have got a little dick and you don't satisfy me anymore. I'm going to go find a guy with a bigger appetite, a bigger dick. He's the bull." Now they have sex. Your job as the cuckolded, cheated on husband has to get them both erotically aroused, clean them up afterwards. It's a whole situation. If that woman leaves that scene, these two men are left cold because it's not about sexual interest, sexual orientation. It's about erotic interest. This is a mindset, not a sexual identity issue. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, actually.
Yeah.
And Is that always healthy though? Because I mean, the counter argument to that would be, we all have all kinds of crazy urges, but if it's going to imperil your relationship, maybe we should have some self control.
Well, so this I feel like is very individual, and I'm all about people staying with their agreements and making their agreements. But most couples, straight couples in particular, they don't make agreements. They fight over contracts they've never made. So
Mm,
I always ask my monogamous couples when they tell me they're monogamous, have you negotiated your monogamy? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, there's something called micro cheating where can you flirt? Can you accept dick pics? Can you send dick pics? Can you, do webcam sex with somebody in Romania? And one partner's like, no, that's all cheating. And the other partner's like, no, that's all monogamy. So they haven't talked about these things. And that's the problem.
yeah, that's such a good point because a number of my friends that are couples that fight it because someone's following someone on Instagram or
Right.
having a coffee with the wrong person. Um, yeah, no, you're exactly right. If you are a guy that's into this and you're in a relationship, is it best to come clean before you get caught? I guess.
I mean, I think
I
it is, but they
I would
don't.
say, yeah.
And they also often don't know why they're doing it, especially the trauma survivors, right? They don't realize until they're in my office and I say, wow, what you're doing is exactly what your uncle did to you, like what your father did to you, whomever, and when I make that connection, they're like, they see it so vividly. But then the thing is, it doesn't mean that they stop wanting to think about and fantasize about what happened because it's part of an imprinted fantasy now.
Mm. Yeah, like one of my friends, he told me that he's straight, but like if he meets a guy and the guy's interested in him, he can do whatever he wants with him and he's fine.
Hmm.
And he said he thinks it's because his first sexual experience was with his male friend. And, but he's not gay. He would never approach a man, but just if he meets them. And yeah, I just thought maybe, is it not always like trauma, but also like first experience? Is that somehow imprinted?
Yes, yes, that can get imprinted. And then the other things a lot of straight men don't get that women do get is desire. Just like women want to be desired, tell me I'm beautiful, tell me my dress looks great, tell me, my breasts are nice. Um, Men want the same thing, but men don't know how to ask for it, and women don't say it. And so gay guys do. Gay guys are like, oh my God, look at your chest. Oh my God, your cock is so beautiful. I just want it down my throat. And that can be very arousing to a straight guy.
Mm, yeah, I guess the dirty talk is more how he would project to his wife or girlfriend.
Yes,
Um, it's just kind of exactly what he wants back. But I guess that's
yes.
always been the intrigue with gay sex is, it's someone that knows my body. It's someone that knows how I think. So that's why I
Yes,
thought
yes.
maybe. So I remember when I was young, when I was a teenager, I think the world had finally become really liberal, and it was almost kind of fashionable to be bisexual when I was like just leaving school, and it did make me think. And I thought about it and realized, yep, I'm completely straight. I just don't have any interest in men. But I think we all thought about it. Like, could I do this? Because it's like, it'd be so much easier. Sometimes you think, like, just so much easier to communicate, so much easier physically, mentally, every possible way, I would imagine.
Right. There's online videos of gay men showing straight men how easy it is to get on Grinder and have a hookup where you've barely said two words to each other on Grinder
Yeah.
and you meet each other and you just can do it in the hallway. Nobody sees you and then you walk away. That's not going to happen with mixed sex couples, people.
Yeah. Or like just sharing a wardrobe, which is pretty cool as well. I just think that's so awesome.
Right. That's an
Just
old
to,
Joan Rivers joke.
yeah, but it really is awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the other thing people don't talk about, which I'm really, and this isn't my research. I mean, it is my clinical experience, but Lisa Diamond, Rich Evan Williams, so many other people have talked about sexual fluidity. And again, sexual fluidity, and this could happen to you as a straight guy. It's actually happened to me as a gay guy, where, is there something about another person? That time, that place, I kind of already said this earlier. So one time I was at a party like 10 years ago. I just turned 50 at this party, and there's a woman, and I always think women are beautiful. I love, the way they look. I'm from the generation Dinah Ross and Cher, and they were gorgeous, but not in a sexual way. But there was something about this woman. She was wearing a zipper dress, and it was zipped up to here, and it was really tight. She had a beautiful body, and I couldn't stop thinking about sex with her. And it was against
Mm.
my will. Like I didn't even want to think about. Like I was like, what's wrong with me? Like why am I having? And it tortured me. And I got to know her more, and I started having a little bit more. So I went back into a therapy session with this therapist I worked with, and she's like, that's called sexual fluidity. You're having exactly what you write about, which is there's something about this woman. I'm not attracted to women in general. Certain women, certain times, certain places. I've never done it, but I think I could at least try.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think I've observed that amongst my friends before. Like sometimes people just seem to have some crazy connection and you don't know why. And
Yes.
I've seen that manifest with men, with trans, but even with women that are just not their type. It's just sometimes something just the connection's good and strong and inexplicable.
Yeah. Right.
How do women react when they find out about their partners having gay sex?
Such a good question, because my first thought when I first started to do this work is that my thought would be that the first thing they think about is HIV, STDs,
That's what I thought.
STIs.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's on their mind, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is, are you going to leave me? Are you
Mm.
gay? And this means that it's the end of our dream. And so that's the main thing. And then they have an infidelity response, rightfully so. The person has acted on these impulses, and they were in an open relationship when they didn't even know it. So the work is about infidelity recovery, and then trying to help the man understand, is he gay, straight, or bi, or somewhere in between?
This will sound like a really weird question and probably says more about me than it does about anything else. But like, if I'm dating a girl and she cheats on me with a girl, I would have a different reaction to if she cheated with a man. Is it the same for these girls?
It's all different, every single one. Some people are like, well, thank God, because I can't compete with a man. And I don't have to try. So they take it less personally. And other
Mm.
people are like, oh my God, I can't compete with a man, and I can't give you this. And now I'm at odds with that. So it just depends on people's attachment styles and attachment issues.
And is there a religious element? Like, so I know a lot of people, a lot of my listeners are religious, and they seem to be the people that struggle the most with sexual problems.
And the reason is, and I'm going to say this, maybe people won't like it. Maybe you'll cut me off. I don't know. But religion has no business talking about sex, because it knows nothing about sexual health. It knows nothing about sex. And all it does is harm and abuse people by trying to teach something it knows nothing about. So the harm is this purity culture who believes that you lose your virginity and that's, your sexual beginning. But as sex therapists, we don't talk about losing your virginity. We talk about having your sexual debut. What do
Mhm.
you think was what your first pleasurable experience? And it may not have anything to do with intercourse, kind of thing.
Mm. Yeah, I guess I have mixed feelings on religion. I'm not religious myself, but I I do have family values and things like that. But I try to be open minded, and I guess I'm trying to straddle um, a divide, and often I'm inconsistent. I guess I'm not 100% clear on my thoughts yet, but
Mm,
I do see a lot of people that listen to the show have, they watch porn, but they feel guilty about it. They
I know.
masturbate, but they feel guilty about it. And I'm not sure what the answer is for those people because their religion does bring them a lot of benefits in their life.
I know.
But at the same time, it's causing this sexual tension and trauma, maybe.
They have to work that out. I get these clients all the time, and it's not my job to tell them what to do about it, even though they want me to. My job is
Mm.
to help them hold both the tension around wanting to masturbate, wanting to watch adult movies, and having this religious community telling them that there's shame involved, and they have to figure out how that's all going to pan out and make that work. And usually, it means they're going to have to let go of one or the other and do some grief work.
Mm. So I guess that's, yeah. And I guess the same with this.
Yeah. And in terms of porn, I want to just say, there was a study that showed that in the study, 55% of the straight men watched gay porn and enjoyed it. And I don't know, maybe it was 35% of the gay men watched straight porn and enjoyed it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like gay male porn. It doesn't turn me on, does nothing for me. I love watching straight porn. Does that mean
Mm.
I'm really a gay guy that's in the closet and I'm straight? No, it means I'm a gay guy who likes to watch straight porn and straight men. And then we also have a lot of research and lesbian um, writings about how they like to watch gay male porn before they have sex
Mm.
with each other. And the reason
Really?
is, yeah, well, they say there's no good, and this is changing, but there historically has been no good lesbian porn. The lesbian porn is usually for the alpha
Yeah, made for
male,
men. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they like to watch the power balance of the two men and the overt sexuality and the intercourse, and that turns them on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Some of my questions I think we've already answered.
I'll tell you
Okay.
this, and this drives me nuts, and I'll tell you why. Everybody that doesn't like the idea of the concept that a straight guy can have sex with men, it's because they think they're fucking. They think they're having anal sex. And the issue really is that a lot of these guys are not even close to having anal sex. And that people even think anal sex is a gay thing would make me straight because I've never had anal sex. I'm not interested in topping. I'm not interested in bottoming. Nobody's ever tried to enter me or entered me. I've never entered anyone else. And I coined the term, you may know this, but I coined the term side for gay men. Gay men who don't enjoy nor want intercourse and only enjoy outer course. And when
Mm.
straight men come in and say, the therapists I've been working with think I'm gay because I like to get fucked by guys, I say to them, your anus doesn't have a sexual orientation. It doesn't know whether it's gay, straight, or bi. It just knows it likes pleasure. And my anus doesn't like pleasure, and I'm still gay.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that, but for some reason, the anus just brings up so many questions around masculinity. Um, because there's no doubt that the prostate is in there and it's pleasurable. And there's a huge number of nerve endings even before you get inside. So, in theory, most guys should like something in that area, but it just causes so many like knee-jerk reactions. I remember trying to, I had an idea for a porn series and I wanted to do one man fucking a girl and then another girl fucking the man with a strap on. And
Mhm.
I couldn't find a male performer in Europe to do it. It
Mm,
was just, they were like, it's a bit too much.
right.
And I'm sure some of them would have enjoyed it privately, but they just wouldn't
Yes,
do it on camera.
right. Because on camera, you're now, for good, you're stigmatized.
Yeah, and I was trying to sell them on it, but no, it
Yeah,
was,
there's a word for that, right? That's called pegging, where you like your
yeah,
girlfriend to
it's
put
pegging,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and so a lot of men like that. In fact, there's a great, you should interview this guy, by the way, Justin Laymiller. Have you heard of him?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I'm
he
really
wrote
bad
this.
with names, though.
Oh, all right. If I can always email it to you, but Justin Laymiller, he wrote a book called "Tell Me What You Want." It's all about sexual fantasies. He did like 4,000, 5,000 interviews, and I always thought, again, because I'm a therapist, the women in here, when they find out that their men like to get fucked and want them to put a strap on, they go into this. Oh my God, he's beta. Oh my God, he's less of a man. Oh my God, he's gay. And so they have a disgust response. But in Justin Laymiller's research, he found that 60% or somewhere around that amount of women enjoy putting a strap on, enjoy fucking their husbands and their boyfriends. It turns them on. And
I could see
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
could definitely see that. I
And it
think
allows the guy
again,
to be submissive.
I think it's only maybe the religious women that maybe wouldn't. Like of my friend groups, I'd say it's the religious women that wouldn't be down
Yeah,
for that.
yeah.
But that's the question: is why don't these men just do pegging instead of seeing a man, instead of cheating on their partners?
They're too afraid to tell the woman that they want that. And if she
Mm.
has any kind of negative response, they're not going to push it.
So how do you have that conversation? How do you bring it up slowly in a way that isn't going to put her off?
Yeah. So then we come in and that's just basic couples therapy of one person wanting something erotic and some person not wanting it. And as a therapist, no means no. Absolutely. You're not going to do it. But that doesn't mean that the yes in the room has to now turn into a no. They still have a right to talk about wanting to have their erotic needs met. So that becomes the difficulty of working as a therapist in couples therapy.
Sometimes is it just there's no solution?
Sometimes there's no solution. Sometimes they have a solution that's nobody's even thought of on this planet yet. Sometimes they open their relationship. Sometimes they just play with toys. So she might not have a strap on, but maybe she's willing to use a toy on him anally with her hand. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it, you know?
Mm. And are most women, is it more so that the partner broke the trust rather than the fact, because I guess maybe some are happy for him to see other men so long as like that's the agreement.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what people forget, you're right, is that it's hard to say it out loud because people are going to think you're gay and are going to think you're bi or not straight or, so there's such a stigma. He'd rather do it underground and never talk about it.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
I
What
think it is.
what advice would you have for straight men that are interested in this, or even men that are already doing it in secret?
Here's what I tell men, especially if they have female partners. Maybe share with your wife or girlfriend or female partner that you I kind of have an interest in gay porn, or there's something called forced bi. Have you ever heard of this? Where the guy
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
forced, right? The woman's forcing him. I actually think it's kind of hot. This is kind of a hot fantasy to watch in there, but maybe kind of slowly let her know that not everything he thinks about is heterosexual, is heterosexual sex, right?
Mm.
And then get her start feeling out her reaction to that, and then over time seeing if you can have those conversations. But I don't know if you can't have these conversations and the two of you can't understand it, then I don't know how you're going to ever find the solution.
Yeah, and I guess a big part of it is more on him than her because it's more his fear of the reaction. And I
And fear
guess
of losing her. That's the
and
thing.
fear of losing her.
And women don't experience it that way. And I get it. They're like, what do you mean losing me? You cheated on me. You're going to really lose me. But he was trying to avoid that all along by not telling her.
And I guess if you're a woman and you know your partner's into this sort of thing, like how do you respond to it in a sensitive way? Because I guess it's hard not to have a knee-jerk reaction.
Right. Um, God, that's a really good question. I mean, first, she has to really think about what it means to her and how she sees men and her man in general, and get around her fear that he might be gay. But that demands that they have conversation and talk about things, and then be willing to be open to the fact of what excites him could excite her too. That's true for any, I call them mixed erotic orientation marriages, where one has one fantasy or one way they like to have sex, and another partner has another, and they're at odds with each other. Finding a way to be turned on by the fact that your partner's turned on, not necessarily by what they're turned on by.
So she can be part of it in some ways.
Be part of it in some way or not, or let him enjoy it on his own. Sometimes that means opening the marriage. Sometimes letting him watch adult movies. Maybe he's having cyber sex with some guys, something like that.
Do you think a marriage with a man with a straight man that does have sex with other men can be healthy? Is it more likely to fail than other marriages, or
I
is it
do
just
not know. No, I think those marriages, bisexual men married to women, are more likely to make it than a gay man. Um, with the gay man, he's so orthodox, and there's a rigidity that he really needs to be with men, that if that couple doesn't open up their relationship, they're not going to make it.
what's the biggest thing you've learned from dealing with these patients over the years?
It's a great question. These are good questions. Let me think about
I'll
it. What have I
do my
learned?
best. I'll try and be professional because you're a doctor.
Yeah. No, you don't have to be.
I'm not used to talking to smart people.
Well, I mean, I did learn that these guys aren't homophobic. I mean, that's where these questions came from. I learned that they're not into the men. Not that no one is. I mean, I'm making sweeping generalizations. I learned that um, men really want to be desired. Men really want to have more aggressive kind of sex, more verbal kind of, things that a lot of women don't want to hear. They don't want to say to women, and that men are easier to, as a vehicle to release all this on, and and be able, and I think that's what I've learned is I didn't realize how willing they were and how open they were when it has nothing to do with orientation and just about erotic interest.
Yeah, the bit that hit home for me, really connected with me, is when you said about men not feeling desired when they have sex with women. And I think when I look back at most of my sexual relationships, I'd say maybe only 1 in 10 women makes you feel like she's got that burning desire. And for you, often um, the expectation is on the man to do the work to make sure
Yes.
she's pleased.
Yeah.
And I think especially with all the, you know, like male loneliness is a big trend at the moment. I suppose I don't know if that's true for all men or just straight men. I don't know. Maybe just improving sexual communication might go a long way to fixing some of that.
I would love to see that. I think it's going to take a long time. The straight men have to, be willing to open up and talk more, and they don't. Even around porn. Oh my God, so many men are watching porn, and they don't talk about it openly with their wives because they don't think they have to. And so then she finds his porn, and now she's upset
Mm,
because she's comparing herself to what's going on in the porn. And he's like, "Oh, I'll stop. Oh my God, I don't want to hurt you. You're so upset." And she is, and so he gets rid of everything and wipes his hard drive clean, whatever. And then what happens? 9 months later or less, he's looking at porn all over again. He doesn't tell her, and then she finds it again. Only this time, it's now you lied to me. It's not even what you're watching, what you like. And I tell straight guys, stop promising to watch porn. We've been watching porn since we were 11. My father did, his father did. In the Stone Age, they carved porn into the stone to
mhm.
masturbate to it. It's never going away. And we should be talking about it.
Yeah, I guess one last thing I skipped over the bro job phenomenon. Is that part of this? I think we
Yes.
brushed on it a little bit, but I think I guess a lot of men go to all boys schools. We take part in sports teams, like trips away. How common is it to?
I don't know how common it is, but I know there's a book about it. I forget the name of it, where the guy studied rural gay men, rural white gay men, and found
Mm,
that they were giving each other bro jobs, like doing each other a favor because they're both wanting them and women aren't around or women won't do it. And sometimes it's because there's a lot of straight guys that imagine themselves sucking dick. It doesn't mean you're gay. It doesn't mean you're gay. If I eat out a vagina, a vulva, or clitoris, whatever, doesn't make me bi. It makes me a gay guy who is kind of maybe enjoying something for whatever reason. But so yeah, even the fact they have to call it bro jobs. Think about that. We can't have a bun in
it's
our hair. It's got to be a man bun. We can't have a crush on a guy. We have to have a man crush. And now a bro job.
well, from my understanding, gay sex with straight men manifests in some really hyper masculine places. For example, I read that soldiers in combat will often fall in love with each other and have very intense gay relationships, even though they're
Yes.
completely straight.
Yes.
And I guess
Right.
I don't understand that or what, it sounds like a very special situation, but I imagine it could be the same with any bonding situation.
Like prison, right? You're stuck there.
Mm,
You're
yeah.
having a hyperreactive to your surroundings. You want closeness. You're scared. Here's this person. The gender doesn't matter.
Mm. It's really fascinating. So is it often a response to environment then? Or is it stress or
So many things. I mean, it's those things, and sometimes it's kink and fetish. Some people have a foot fetish, and there's not women feet around, so they're willing to do it with a man. A man. Some people are exhibitionists. They love showing off. Women aren't around, so they're willing to show off to men. Some guys are voyeurs. They'd rather sneak peeks at women, but if they're not around, they'll do it to men. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and again, it's just that double standard of I think most girls practice kissing each other, getting ready for boys, and people would think it's innocent. Whereas if it's men practicing with each other, it's not innocent.
Right. It's gay.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think that's all my questions now. Is there anything you want to add on the topic?
No, I think you covered a lot. I think we did almost everything that I usually talk about on here. We talked about.
Yeah, I tried to race through. I was like, oh, there's any now. It's slow. No,
There's
but
smart
really,
questions.
yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I think I'm really curious what the comments are going to be like because almost everything I do normally is on straight issues and about women. And my podcast tagline is even a podcast for men, mostly about women. But I realized recently that actually LGBT stuff is relevant for straight men too,
Hmm.
which I my mind's a bit blown, but I'm enjoying covering it and I'm learning so much. And it's kind of making me more open-minded as well. I thought I was super open-minded, but it does reveal a lot of hidden prejudices and stereotypes that I have.
Yeah, and it touches online, at least what I notice when I get these nasty comments, it touches patriarchy, it touches misogyny, it touches misandry, it touches
Mm.
sexism, it touches homophobia. I couldn't have picked a better topic that harassed more people. And I didn't even know I was going to harass people. I knew people would be like, wait, what? And we would have discussion, but you can't believe the kind of reactions I get from people. It's
It,
crazy.
it's funny that anyone would be so vitriolic to you because you're like so charming and friendly on your Instagram. You know,
Thank
it's
you.
like how could you be mean to you? It's like, come on.
Yeah, you should read about it. Some people call me a cancer. I fucking hate Joe Kort. Joe Kort again. Oh my fucking God. It's like all over the place.
Is it because you're making straight men gay or are you making gay men straight?
I'm making people uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. Yeah. No, I think it's a more realistic view of sexuality. I think the fluidity part makes most sense to me because,
Yes.
what turns me on has changed so much over the last 20 years. And at some point, maybe it will flip towards another gender. I don't know. But I'd like to be cool with it if that happens.
Right. And not have to shame yourself. That's the thing I'm most targeting is let's not shame people. Let's not put people in boxes. Let's not, tell them who they are by what they do. Let just people be.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Like, I really appreciate it. It's opened my eyes, and there is a bit of a titillation with this topic because it does sound funny, and it is
I know.
funny, but it's just speaking facts, and
Yes.
if I want to understand it, it just makes sense.
And I think it's funny too. I'd love to hear jokes about them. I think it's funny.
Cool. Right, is there anything you want to promote or tell while you're here?
Just that I wrote a whole book about this called Is My Husband Gay, Straight or Bi? A guide for couples or a guide for women concerned about their men. It's almost 10 years old, but it's still relevant today. There's nothing dated in it. And I believe and stand strong with everything I said in that book. Oh, I have a website called Straight Guys. And the guys is guise.com. And that's all about what we talked about today, actually.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I'll link to all that anyway. But thanks so much for coming on, and have a good day.
Thanks for having me.